Hello everyone and welcome to the graphical upgrade in Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, as you can see, we are running the game maxed out, pretty much maxed out, apart from the shadow resolution, which you don't recommend touching, to be honest, because it kills the FPS dead. So the shadow resolution is on the default, and as you can see here with the new graphics upgrade, unlocked frame rate, we usually get between 90 and 100. However, because we're recording with SWTOR, it does cut about 20% off the frame rate. So bear in mind, you need to add about 20% to this. So we're getting 70 FPS, which is still perfectly playable. If we go for a wander about our strongholds, we get, you see, it does go back up to about 90, 80. But it does sit around 70 in this room. There's a lot of objects. Obviously, it's a lot more for it to render. It does drop down a little bit. To 60 FPS. We'll show you what the settings that we're running. Graphics running 1080p resolution. We have everything on, bloom's on, depth of field is on, everything's at the highest that it can be, except the shadow map resolution. If you turn that all the way up, it kills the performance. It will kill all the performance. Does improve the shadows massively, but everything here is high. Anti-aliasing is very high. Shader complexity is at its highest. Texture quality is at its highest, level of detail is at the highest, visible character limit is at the highest, shadow quality up high, shadow map cascades are very high, that's the highest they can go. So everything is up at the highest that it can go here, and you can see here, we've got our shadow there. I think the default shadow map resolution looks okay. I'll show you our shadow. Turn the UI off there. And we can see our shadow on the ground there. We see our mount whenever we mount up. We get the mount shadow. It does kill the frame rate a little bit. But if we turn the shadow map resolution up, our shadow does look a bit sharper, but it just kills the FPS. So what we're going to do, we'll head out this way because we're going to head out to where I keep most of my mounts, in the mount garage. So there's a lot of shadows here, so you can see the frame rate does take a bit of a dive here. Hovering around the 60 mark. I have uncapped it. I normally cap the FPS at 60. We've got no VSync on, obviously, because we want the frame rate to be above 60. So yeah, there you go. That is the bit of shadows, and of course the frame rate does drop. So the shadows do have an effect on the frame rate, definitely. We'll head out to the fleet, and what we're going to take a look at now is the new and improved loading times. You can see here that it is, I'd say it's a definite improvement, really, because it used to stick at sort of 20%. Apparently the loading screen now is more representative of what it is going forward now. So you can see there it loaded, you know, about, what, 80% of the way very, very quickly. There it did. And what we're, yeah, it is loading nice. That's quite fast, actually, because normally it's about a minute, minute and a half. So we've come here to the GTN area of the fleet, and you can see the frame rate is hovering around the 30 down to 28, 30 mark. You go to the GTN, this is it is 4:34 p.m. Obviously afternoon UK time, server time on the Red Eclipse. So we're just having a little look here. This is a lot of people. Then we've turned the character details up to high. You can see here, you can see all the details on all the characters, and we're getting between sort of 25 and 40 FPS here. It is quite nice, actually. This is, I don't normally run at these settings. There's a scary Nexu mount there as well. We ran right towards its jaws, but we are getting here. If we turn the UI off, we're getting a nice stable 47 FPS because there's less people here, obviously. And if we move to an area with a lot of people, bear in mind full shadows that are being displayed here. And again, we're getting 40 FPS, which isn't bad. Isn't bad. If we zoom out, if we mount up here, you see it dips a little bit. So between 30 and 40 FPS on the fleet with a lot of people on screen. This is quite a decent amount of people, actually, for it to be rendering in sort of high quality. So this is it maxed out. I don't run the game maxed out. Normally, I turn the grass details off. I turn the shadows off. Because I play so zoomed out, I don't give a shit about anti-aliasing. Like, I don't care. I'm not noticing edges. If I'm playing like this, you know, in a raid environment, I'm not noticing aliasing on edges, right? I don't care. So that's why I don't run it. The recording of this video will be recorded at 30 FPS. I might bump it up to to 60 for the YouTube uploads, so I might do that. So you might see it at 60 FPS, but you can see here it's pretty decent actually. Bear in mind it used to run about 14 FPS. Now the real test will come in PvP, I guess. War zones and raids are where you want to see it. So we might take a look at it in a raid, but what we'll do is we'll cut the video and we'll go to Alderaan and we'll see what the world performance is. But you can see here, a lot of people on the screen, 40 odd FPS. Pretty nice actually, it's pretty good. So anyway, we'll go to Alderaan. Alderaan, because it's, you know, it's quite a nice looking planet. It's got a lot of grass textures and things like that to load, so we'll test them. A lot of foliage, which has been improved as well. So we'll take a look at Alderaan. Alright, so we're at the loading screen for Alderaan, which was typically a horribly long loading screen. I just started it. Since it started, I pressed the record button, so we're going to see how much it's improved, because this was one of the worst planets in terms of its loading. Like, it took like a two-minute loading screen, I think it was, on Alderaan. I'll ignore the frame rate because it's a loading screen here. It is 109 FPS, but again, it's not loading it. It's not really loading anything. You'll see the frame rate kind of dip and go crazy. Oh, there it goes to 0. It's not loading any frames really. Or it's not displaying any frames, so again, that's why the frame rate is so low. So yeah, I mean, it still takes a long time to load Alderaan. It still takes longer, but I think it does feel a little bit shorter. Certainly, it did get stuck at like 25% at least. So at least it does seem a little bit quicker. I mean, they have said we'll see improvements of up to 20% on the loading screen, but we'll check out Alderaan, because Alderaan is graphically is a very nice planet. It is. There's a lot of foliage and there's a lot of shadows around Alderaan. So we'll go and we'll check out. We'll run around House Organa. We'll run around a few fields, and we'll go check out the performance. Again, we're running it maxed out, pretty much, except the shadow resolution, which I don't see the benefit in turning up, to be honest with you. Leave it at default because it kills the FPS. So the game's virtually loaded now. Lara's loaded in. Always get that line of dialogue in the loading screen, so it still takes a while to load Alderaan. Still takes a little bit of a while, so there we go. In Alderaan, we're getting 70 FPS in the spaceport. There's not a lot of people around the spaceport. Obviously, there's no people around. Although there's just a few NPCs around, static NPCs. No players, really, which is the big test for it. Because there's a lot of players. Not going to be a lot of players on Alderaan. It's quite a good looking game, because I never run it this high a settings. Actually, I never really bother. We're getting a big frame rate dip there when there's when we're in the spaceport, and we get this big giant shadow of our walker mount there. It's pretty nice. Does hamper the FPS a little bit. So again, we are running an R9 280X, should we say, not 290X, 280X. AMD FX 8350, 4 GHz, 8 core CPU. We'll take a little wander here, try and find some grass detail. There's the foliage detail. See if it's improved the draw distance, shall we? No, the draw distance, we still get the pop-in. The pop-in does seem to be a little bit further away. No, we're still going to get pop-in here. We're going to see the textures just pop in there on there. Just get those grass detail. Very rare that we run at this, but it is running. You can see here we're getting a first-person walker. So the frame rate is still struggles a little bit. A lot of enemies here as well. We're getting under 30 FPS at 1080p with the shadows maxed out. So for rating wise, I don't think I would certainly turn the settings. I'll do some combat here. These guys aren't gonna kill us. First person SWTOR. See, the frame rate does dip while you're in combat there, and we'll kill some of these guys. But yeah, it's not a bad looking game actually when you run it maxed out. So this is with the grass details at 100. I never run it at 100%. That's some nice flowers there. So yeah, Alderaan was the place to test this out. There's a lot of action going on there. We'll fire around at them. You can see, so the frame rate does dip a bit when we're doing combat. It's alright on the fleet, but on Alderaan, it does look a little bit like that we can't run this at max settings. It's still not fully optimized. For comparison, this PC can run Battlefield 4 at ultra settings at between 50 and 60. It doesn't quite stay locked at 60 FPS. We get away from the foliage here, the frame rate does creep back up to like 50 FPS. So that's nice. I mean, that's good here. We get, again, so foliage detail, I think I'll turn off. I turn it off for raiding. Again, anti-aliasing, I turn off for raiding. But it is not a bad looking game. We'll go into House Organa and find out, see what the FPS is up. You see here, we're away from all the foliage now. It's gone up a bit, the frame rate. And again, the shadow resolution, I just turned off, to be honest with you. And we're getting 60 FPS in an indoor area. Check out the indoor environment. So there we go. It looks alright. We'll go upstairs. Oops. You can't turn with the mouse. Try to turn with the mouse. I think I'm playing an FPS here. Turning on that on. That's a bit useless. So there you go. We're getting like 90 FPS now that we're indoors. Actually getting better performance indoors. There's a quest here that we haven't done. Seems interesting. So the indoor areas look alright. I think we will run the video at 60 FPS. What I'll do is I'll scale it up to 60. What is that person doing? What the hell are you doing, douchebag? Look at that fat douchebag and that dude begging the fat douchebag. Look at them two Twi'leks arguing with that dude. It's like, hey, that bloody Twi'leks. I like fat Twi'leks to dance for me. You better dance for me, suckers. So yeah, outdoor areas we're 30 FPS. Indoor areas we're we can hit the 90s. She's talking to her droid. There's another dude arguing with fat Twi'leks. Jeez, what's all these fat dudes in Alderaan? Fat Twi'leks. So many fat Twi'leks on Alderaan. What do they feed you on Alderaan? All these fat green Twi'leks. And look at the fat dudes on Alderaan. Look at them. I suppose they are nobles, I guess. They just look at them all. Look at them. Jesus. There's a bit of weight. This is like going to America, this is actually, with all the fat people running about. Did they open a intergalactic McDonald's or an intergalactic KFC here? Intergalactic, and you get a discount if you're a green Twi'lek, it seems. You're a green Twi'lek. I mean, like, by comparison, look at all the fat men, thin women. See, BioWare's sexist. BioWare confirmed sexist. Look, fat dudes. The women are all skinny. I haven't seen a fat woman anywhere. Look at that. So there you go. It's presenting a. There's a couple of thin dudes. Yep, another woman, thin, thin. Why is all the women thin and all the blokes fat? Here on Alderaan. Maybe it's because they've all got bulimia or something like that. So anyway, thank you for joining me for this video, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.